Sorry, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I want to say hello to all the fans. Kiss Viva Argentina.
Uh,
How
that,
are you?
that's it. Thank you.
I'm
Kisses to
glad to be here.
awesome. And I want to start with I have here my book that you very kind signed for me. I'm showing
Okay.
this too, and I love the second. That this is beautiful.
Thank you.
This is beautiful. I love it. About this book, I like to start with chapter 20. Chapter
Okay.
20 talks about, you as a child, your parents in New York City, in an Italian neighborhood. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood in Argentina. We have kind of same probably roots,
Yes,
or
I know. I know.
so uh, if you have any, as a child, if you have any memory you would like to share with us, back in New York City with your family, with your four brothers, anything that you like to share.
Well, when I was a very young child, I lived in a neighborhood that was primarily Italian and Irish and German. We didn't really have any blacks or Puerto Ricans or any Spanish. Then I moved to another neighborhood that had everything, and that was my favorite. I mean, my best friend is Spanish, and I know that Argentina has is in Latin America, but it's their language is a little bit like Italian, the pronunciation. So I had a friend in Argentina, and he told me that his mother was Italian and his father was Spanish, from Spain and from Italy. So that's where his grandparents were from. So I remember when I was young, I I used to, question everything. So I lived in projects. So in housing projects, and basically, um, I was so glad that that's the way I grew up. Even though it was a very poor neighborhood, I'm glad I grew up that way because it taught me how to accept everybody. And I love all the different nationalities, and I just, I'm just very grateful, and I'm a blessed person.
Wow, it opened your mind, that happened to
Yes.
me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also went to school in Williamsburg, which is where Peter was from.
Okay.
And Williamsburg has a mixed uh, ethnic background, and also a lot of Jewish people. So
Okay.
I actually went to school 1 block away from Gene Simmons, but I didn't know it at the
Oh
time.
wow.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's,
that's
I learned about Jewish people then, which I didn't know when I was younger, when I was, like, I learned when I went to junior, they call it middle school now. That's seventh grade to 10th to eighth, ninth grade. So that's when I was going to school right near Gene Simmons.
oh wow, that's very interesting. And
Yeah.
going back to your childhood, how was your relationship with your brothers? You had four male
I have
brothers, right?
four brothers, two older, two younger. I got along with all of them. My oldest brother we didn't see too often because he had a girlfriend, so he'd go back to the old neighborhood. And but and one of my other older brother, which we're very close now and very close in age,
Okay.
he was in the service, and he was in the army. So he got drafted, so he had to go over to where was he? In Korea. So that's that was my other brothers.
Oh,
I'm very close with,
oh,
especially I have one brother that passed away, and he was
oh,
the one I
sorry.
was the closest to,
Okay.
because we shared the same interests in music, and we were similar in age too, and we were around when the Beatles were around, and that whole thing. So
Well, that's very
my
interesting.
brothers
And
were my protectors.
that was going to ask because Peter said that he was a musician, long hair, everything that at that time it was something bad for an Italian culture family,
Yes,
like
yes.
probably your parents weren't that happy with him.
Oh no, they were not happy with Peter at all at the beginning, but then they got to love him. Once
Oh,
you get to know Peter, Peter has a charm about him that you just, and all the people that know Peter know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
They
yeah.
know the charm. Yeah.
I saw him last year, 2017. I understand what you're saying. That's true, you know. And so how going, you know, now back to the 70s. I have a particular question. This question goes, you know, to 1970 when Peter was in Chelsea. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Yeah.
So you know, suddenly probably he came to you saying, "Hey, Lydia, I have this song. You know, it's called Back. You know," and he probably pulled that song. You know, and it was like a best version of the Beth Unplugged that we know now. Do you have any memories about that moment, or that didn't happen at all?
Yes, I do. I do. We were married, and my best friend and her husband and Peter and I were going to have dinner in Chinatown. Now, I worked in Manhattan. She worked in Manhattan. I think the husband even worked in Manhattan, but Peter was in. Oh wait, he was actually in Manhattan with Stan Penridge, right? And they were rehearsing, so we all met in Chinatown. But Peter was late. He was, you know, like, where are you? Where are you? And in those days, we didn't have cell phones. So we're going, where is he? Where is he? Finally, he shows up and he goes, oh, you're not going to believe this. We wrote this great song, but it wasn't called Beth. It was called Beck. And Beck was a girl that was in Chelsea. It was always, her husband was in Chelsea. And she would always, they were newlyweds, just like Peter and I. But she would always call the rehearsal hall and ask Mike, that was her husband, Mike, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? So they wrote a song that was a mean song. It was like, Beck, I hear you calling, but I ain't coming home right now. You know, me and the boys are playing, and we, you know, we'll be there. I'll be home when I get there. So that was the way the song was for years, but it was never, nothing was ever done with it. Then when Peter was in Kiss, it was not until third album, Destroyer, yeah, that they decided, you know, Peter wanted a song on the album, and Gene and Paul said, okay, well then, you know, give us a song. And they saw it and they didn't like it. They said, a ballad, we don't do ballads, we're a heavy metal band. Bill Aucoin talked them into doing it. Bill Aucoin says, I think this will work, you know, I think you should do it. So then Gene goes, well, we can't call it Beck, because everybody's going to think we're talking about Jeff Beck. We're singing to Jeff Beck. So Gene will, I always say this, Gene will always take the credit, but I named it Beth. Only because Beth was the name of Neil Bogart's wife. Neil Bogart was the president of Casablanca Records, the record label that they were signed to. And I said it was perfect, one syllable. You know, Lydia's too many syllables. And so they decided to name it that. And then, yeah, you know, when they finally recorded it, they were in a recording studio. And I had just moved to Manhattan. So normally I would go to the recording studio, especially right after work. But I had stopped working. So I was I just moved to Manhattan, and I was decorating the apartment. I was, you know, buying furniture, because we had a smaller place in Brooklyn. And so we needed some more furniture. So I was out buying furniture and, you know, shopping. And they told me, don't come to the recording studio until we tell you. I said, okay. So I waited and waited. They told me, okay, come down now. So I came down to the recording studio. I think it was the Record Plant. And I sat there and they put headphones on me. And they said, they played Beth. I sat on a stool and they put headphones and they said, well, what do you think? And it was so pretty that I just started crying.
Wow.
And I said, I don't believe this song. I said, it should have been written for me.
Wow.
And, you know, then they said, you know, then they laughed. And then you know, I mean, people didn't know that Peter had a wife. That's why they couldn't really try to call it Lydia, because they were trying to keep our marriage just like they did with John Lennon.
The Beatles, exactly. Same thing.
So the only thing that actually did give it away was when I accepted the People's Choice Award. That was in 19.
Yes, that's one of the first pages in your book that I have here. So yeah, that's one of your first pages. I like to show that picture. Can I?
Sure. My uncle took that picture from the TV.
Oh, which uncle? Vito or
Huh?
Uncle Vito or Uncle Larry? Oh, no,
Uncle
no.
Larry.
Oh,
Uncle Larry.
oh, that's so cool. Those were so cool uncles, right? They took you to
Wait,
the
wait,
bowling.
you passed that. I think. Did you pass it or no?
Oh,
Wait.
sorry, sorry. Yes, I passed it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I was into the question and I cannot do two things at the same time.
Yeah, my Uncle Larry took that. He was a
Oh,
photographer. He was a photographer. He took it right off the TV.
oh, this is a beautiful picture. And you had the same dress, what's the actor's name? It's very difficult to me to pronounce it.
Goldie Hawn and Farrah Fawcett. We all had the same dress on, but in different color.
Wow, yeah.
Mine tied. There was a knot that tied on the. I think mine was on the right side. Goldie's might have been in the middle, and Farrah's was on the left side.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for you coming back, coming from, a neighborhood where, probably you grew up, not with that expensive dresses, for you, being in that dress and, at the same level of, the Hollywood stars,
Yeah, yeah.
it might be like a magical night, right? Like,
It definitely was. It was, that's the thing. They gave me 10 days to find something to wear, what to do with my hair, my nails,
wow.
my shoes, and and a speech. I had to come up with a speech. So that, I practiced that. I rehearsed that all constantly. I could still say it now to this day. I know that speech so well.
It's my favorite song, not only because it's how Peter feels about me, but how every man feels when he's away from the woman he loves. KISS is performing tonight, and they just want me to thank everyone for this great honor, and I want to personally thank KISS. I love you.
Oh, wow, you nailed it. You nailed it. I'm so happy for you. To the book. So, can you give me more information about, how you can buy it, online? If this is something that you can do overseas, or it's only
Yes.
in the United States?
Yeah. You could buy it anywhere in the world, okay? You just have to go to my website. It's www.lydiachris, LYDIACRISS.com.
Yes.
Or you can go to eBay or Amazon.
Okay.
I sell it all three places, and I sell it in a store in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but you can't get that from Argentina.
Yeah, no, I understand. But also you have like a digital version, right? Like you can buy it.
Yes, I do. I do have a digital version. It's half the price, or maybe less. It's about half the price. It's same thing. Go to my website, www.lydiachris.com, and you could pick the digital version.
Perfect. Lydia, going back to the questions, I have a video here that I want to ask you, and this is a question I have, for probably 20, 30 years. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to put this, I don't know if you can see it from there. This is a 1973 video. I think this is
Coventry?
Coventry.
Yeah.
Is that you dancing? There are three girls dancing.
Everybody asks me that. No, you should pull it back. Pull it back.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody asks me that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't know. That was similar to my hairstyle, but it's not similar to the way I dance. But I'm not sure if I danced different in those days,
Yeah.
I don't remember, but it does look like my hair.
Okay.
So it could be me, and if I'm dancing, I'm probably dancing with one of my girlfriends or Peter's sisters.
Oh, perfect.
Because that's the only people that would come to to Coventry.
That's why I'm asking. It's 1973. KISS is like probably.
It was December, right? It was December. I think Bill Coyne had that video. He did that.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
You're yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good to know. And to finalize the interview, we are, and I thank you so much for your time again. I went through your book, and I saw so many celebrities. So can you name me 3 celebrities that you, had a great time, or were, guys or girls, or, that you enjoy spending time with them? And I have one name, but I'm going to tell you later.
John Belushi?
Yes. And look, I show you I don't know if you can read my...
Yeah, John Belushi. That looks like his handwriting, is it?
No, that's mine.
That's yours? Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
kidding me? Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love him. And can you tell me like a story, a funny story? You know, I want to remember him, or we want to remember him.
Well, he was a character. He came up to my house in Greenwich, Connecticut. He came to my apartment in Manhattan. He watched me do the People's Choice Award. I had it on tape, and so I showed it to him. And in those days, it was Betamax. You know, it wasn't VHS. And it was he just watched me and he said, "Wow, you did a really, really good job." And he's a little nutty guy, you know. He says he was drinking tequila, and he says, I said, "Could I get you anything else?" You know, I'm trying to be a hostess. And he says, "Yeah, do you have any lamb stew?" And I said, "Lamb stew? That's a crazy question." So that was one of my things that was funny in my apartment, because he said, "Oh, my wife just had some. I thought maybe you would have some leftovers too." But
Wow.
anyway, up in Connecticut, he he took all the scarves that he found on my rack, you know, like where I hang my coat. He took all my scarves and he put them on a broom pole, and he made believe he was Steven Tyler.
Oh,
He
wow.
was dancing around my house
Oh
like
my God. Oh, that would be a show, a Saturday Night Live show right there. You know,
I
you
know,
you, you had that in your house.
I know, yeah,
Well, oh
yeah.
my God, Lydia, thank you so much for your time.
Okay,
Thank you for sharing this. You know, we treasure these memories. You know, you've been like a first degree witness in the history, and
yes, I know.
you know that we the fans we love you because you are so nice to us. You are always kind, and you always are available, and I really appreciate this. And God bless
That's
you. Thank you
my
so much.
my mother taught me well.
I know, Mary,
Mary,
and your dad, he worked. I have this little thing, little comment. Your dad worked two jobs because you guys had to move,
yeah,
to pay the rent, right? So
right.
that happens in every middle class family, right? When things sometimes
Mhm.
are okay, sometimes are not. And then when you marry Peter Chris, you work two jobs,
Yeah,
and I made that connection, because your
yeah,
parents taught you well, what is to work, to sacrifice,
yes,
so I think those
yes.
are great values. I don't want to say Italian values because that could be any place values,
Right,
but I relate also to that, and I just wanted to mention because I think it's a connection between you and your dad.
right. Yes, yeah. I worked two jobs primarily to get money for the wedding.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
I worked, like a job after my job, but I worked right across the street from Electric Lady Studios.
Oh, wow, that's
So that
interesting.
was, it was a great. I worked in the Village, so it was really great going down there after working with the straight people, on Madison Avenue, and then going down to the Village and working there. It was a big change, but it was great.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. One more quick favor.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Hi, Latin America. This is Lydia Chris. I just wanted to say I love your country. I've been there 3 times, and I plan on going back again. And I just wanted you to know that I'm selling a book, and I would love for you to read it. It's all about Kiss. It's It's sealed with a kiss, and it's you can get it on my website or Amazon or eBay. And my website is www.lydiachris.com.